Love stories rarely announce their arrival with trumpets. They slip quietly into ordinary days, hiding inside unexpected moments, appearing when no one is looking for them. And for Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex, the spark that would eventually grow into a global, history-shaping relationship began not in a palace ballroom or at a glamorous event, but in the most modern, unroyal way possible, on Instagram. In 2016, Harry was not dreaming of romance or expecting his life to shift. He was simply taking a break, scrolling through his phone, flipping through a friend's travel photos the way anyone else might. He was restless, as he often was during that period of his life. He had endured years of public scrutiny, loneliness masked by duty, and a lingering desire for something real, someone who could see him as just Harry, not the prince the world projected onto him. The golden boy of the monarchy, the rebel, the headline magnate, those were roles he understood. But what he craved was something deeper: authenticity, warmth, and connection. As he tapped through the photos, everything looked the same at first. Beaches, sunsets, laughter, all captured and filtered through the bright haze of holiday freedom. Then he swiped again, and suddenly the world seemed to pause. There she was, Meghan Sussex. Harry didn't know her name yet, but he felt something instantly. A soft jolt. The quiet shock of recognition without any explanation. Meghan wasn't posing dramatically in the photo, nor was she trying to draw attention. She wasn't dressed for a red carpet. She wasn't even looking into the camera. She was simply smiling, bright, genuine, effortless. The kind of smile that felt warm even through a screen. Her eyes were bright with laughter, as if someone had just told a joke she found genuinely funny, and her posture was relaxed in a way that radiated ease. It wasn't glamour that struck Harry, it was authenticity. Something about her felt unfiltered, unguarded, refreshingly human. He blinked, leaned in, and whispered to no one in particular, "Who is that?" His friend turned, confused for a moment, then laughed lightly. "Oh, her? That's Meghan." Harry repeated her name, more to himself than to anyone listening. Meghan. It felt unfamiliar and familiar at the same time, like a word that carried possibility. But he didn't know anything else. Her career, her background, her life. He didn't even know she was on television. For him, the moment wasn't about who she was to the world. It was about the feeling she sparked in him. "Tell me more," he said, trying to sound casual, though his curiosity betrayed him. His friend shrugged and began to explain. Meghan Sussex was American, kind, passionate, deeply involved in humanitarian work, and yes, she acted on a show called Suits. But Harry barely registered the details. His attention was fixed on the warmth in that single picture. Something deep inside him whispered that she mattered, that this wasn't a passing impression. It was instinct, a feeling, destiny's first nudge. Meanwhile, miles away, Meghan Sussex was living a life filled with purpose, work, and independence. She was filming, traveling, writing, balancing her lifestyle blog, and carving her path with determination and grace. She wasn't waiting for a prince, or imagining that someone halfway across the world had just stumbled onto her photo and paused as if struck by lightning. If someone had told her then that Prince Harry had seen her on Instagram, that Prince Harry, she might have laughed at the absurdity. Her world was full but grounded. She was moving forward, unaware that life was quietly preparing a new chapter for her. But destiny doesn't consult calendars or schedules. It simply moves. Back in London, Harry felt a pull he couldn't ignore. After staring at her photo a little longer than he intended, he finally asked his friend the question that would shift both their lives. "Can you introduce us?" He tried to say it lightly, but he couldn't hide the hopeful edge in his voice. His friend raised an amused eyebrow, but nodded. "I'll message her," he said. That night, Meghan Sussex received a message she wasn't expecting. It was polite, respectful, and completely surprising. Prince Harry wanted to talk to her. She paused, reread it, and then reread it again. She wasn't the type to be swept by titles or dazzled by status. Instead, she was curious. What was he like behind the royal image? Who was the real person behind the headlines and public expectations? She agreed to talk, cautiously but open-heartedly. And that was when everything truly began. Their first messages were simple. Friendly introductions, polite exchanges, the kind of careful curiosity two strangers use when testing a connection. But slowly, the messages grew longer, fuller, more personal. Meghan Sussex found herself laughing at Harry's humour, surprised by his self-awareness, drawn to his sincerity. Harry found himself opening up in ways he didn't expect. Meghan's warmth made him feel seen, and her grounded nature made him feel steady. What started as a message turned into hours of conversation. Then days, then weeks. They talked about everything: work, childhood, dreams, fears, values, favourite foods, travel, books, the meaning of home, the ache of loneliness, the joy of purpose. With each exchange, Harry felt the walls around him soften. Meghan felt her instinct sharpen. There was something different here, something rare. When they finally decided to meet in person, Harry was more nervous than he wanted to admit. A prince who had travelled the world, faced harsh spotlight moments, and stood confidently in front of thousands of people, found himself rehearsing what he might say. Meghan Sussex, too, felt the fluttering nerves, curiosity mixed with excitement, guarded hope mixed with grounded realism. When she arrived, she wasn't thinking about royalty or fairy tales. She was simply wondering whether the kindness she'd seen through their messages would hold true in person. And it did. In fact, it overwhelmed her. Harry, stripped of titles and expectations, was warm, attentive, kind, genuine, funny, and disarmingly open. Meghan Sussex, elegant yet relaxed, radiated warmth and intelligence. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, as if they were continuing a story already in motion. They laughed, teased, asked questions, and answered with honesty. There was no pretending, no performance. Just two souls meeting in the middle of the chaos, discovering something that felt right. Harry knew earlier than he expected, that Meghan wasn't like anyone he had met before. She didn't treat him as a symbol, a title, or a trophy. She saw him, and he saw her. Every layer, every complexity, every hope and vulnerability. Meghan, too, felt a shift. Harry was not the arrogant royal stereotype the world often imagined. He was thoughtful, empathetic, funny, and real. The connection grew quickly but carefully. With every date, every conversation, every shared smile, the spark grew brighter. As weeks turned into months, the relationship quietly deepened out of the public eye. They protected it fiercely, nurturing it like a delicate flame. They travelled together, cooked together, talked late into the night, and created small, private memories that would become the foundation of everything that followed. They faced challenges, doubts, fears, and the realities of living lives constantly under surveillance. But they faced them as a team. From the moment Harry first saw Meghan Sussex on that Instagram post, something in him knew that she would change his world. And she did. Not because she tried to, but because love doesn't knock politely. It shifts the air, quietly but completely. Their story didn't unfold like a fairy tale written generations ago. It became something modern, bold, and deeply personal. A love born from curiosity, nurtured through conversation, strengthened by truth, and tested by the world, but ultimately held together by choice. The choice to love. The choice to stand by each other. The choice to rewrite what a royal love story could look like. And it all began with a single photo, a bright smile, and a prince who paused long enough to feel something shift. A moment that looked small on the surface but carried the weight of destiny beneath it. A moment that changed their lives and sparked a love story the world would eventually witness, admire, question, debate, and remember. But for Harry and Meghan Sussex, that moment remains simple and sacred. The instant he saw her, truly saw her, long before he knew her name, her world, or the role she would one day play in his life. Sometimes love doesn't need grand entrances. Sometimes love begins with a scroll, a spark, and a heart brave enough to ask, "Who is she?"